What's up, everybody, and welcome on in. We are live on the official Twitch and YouTube pages for Unity. I am a new face. I'm a stranger to most of you, but I appreciate you all being here. My name is Jackson. Some people call me Jax. I'm a new community manager around here, and I will be responsible for the live stream scheduling. I'm here to make sure that we've got awesome content to bring you guys and potentially more of it. So I'm so excited to have you all again. As I said, this is my first one, but I'm in good hands, of course, with all of you in the audience, as well as my friend Thomas over this side. Thomas, welcome on in. I know you've been on streams before. What are we working on today? And what are we looking forward to most?
Y'all. All right. I don't know where to start with this because I'm going to start with I am incredibly nervous about this next series we're doing, because it's probably going to be the most technically challenging one that we've done together. But we are going to make a multiplayer game over the next 4-ish weeks. And I say ish because we've pre-scoped as much as we can, but we just don't know for sure where that's going to take us. And before we dive into like the nitty gritty and the technical of what we're going to do, I would first like to bring on some guests that are going to help us get through this. I guess I should tell you who I am. Sorry, I'm Thomas Winkley. I'm a technical marketing advocate here at Unity on the education team. My specialization and focus is helping folks learn to make games and also just telling y'all that students are cool and that students should get their free stuff. But what we're going to do as part of this, the multiplayer summer that Unity is putting on, is we're going to convert a game we built last summer into multiplayer. So now that I've said that, and now that my nerves are mostly gone, let's pull our guests up and get things going over so we can bring up our guests. So, what up, gang?
Guests are here.
Okay.
Do we take off our shoes when we walk in?
Yeah, you have to. This is a no-shoe stream.
Okay, cool.
Good thing I did beforehand. Okay.
I'm glad.
We're ready to go. You guys are doing great already.
You're comfy. So I guess let's start with Kirk. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself first, my dude?
Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Kirk. I am the community manager for education and social impact. So if you're a teacher making cool stuff, if you're an artist, anyone making an impact, I'm your person. And I'm here to talk about all the small things about networking and jumping on this carousel with these boys. So, yeah.
And it is worth noting that, you know, Kirk, when the educators join the community, he does leave them roses by the stairs. Mm-hmm. And we need to make sure we introduce somebody who is a legend that we really need on this stream to make this work. Esteban, you should introduce yourself, my guy.
Thanks, Thomas. And hi, everyone. My name is Esteban Maldonado. I am a developer advocate here at Unity, and I mostly represent like Unity's multiplayer solutions. So you might have heard me say a lot of stuff like netcode for game objects, netcode for entities, dots, Mega City Metro, and what's going to be recently. In fact, we've already kind of done this in a previous live stream. A lot of Unity 6 multiplayer functionality stuff, like multiplayer center widgets. Oh, it's like.
Someone on Twitch chat said this is the summer Esteban.
It is. It's Esteban summer.
I think that's Michael.
Yeah. Esteban, you were live just last week, right? And this is going to be at least a 4-part series. So we're going to see a lot of Esteban. If everyone's excited for that.
For the summer.
I love that.
We can just you want to leave. Let's just leave Esteban here. All right. We'll see you guys later.
Yeah. Goodbye. You're doing a webinar on Thursday, right? As well.
Yeah.
Talking about
yes, I am. Yes, I am. I am going to be doing a webinar, and we're going to be discussing like a lot of cool updates on Unity 6, mostly on how to. So it's called Accelerate Your Prototyping in multiplayer prototyping, because we are actually live going to automatically create assets and start and how you can get to a base result, a base level of having a network scene that can already work online, and you can share it with other friends and them be able to play with you as well. Yep. So and you can get all of that with no additional button clicks or no code that you need to generate yourself. It's automated. You'll see it. It's awesome. So yeah,
it's very exciting. I know before we started there was a lot of talks of hamster wheels and pipelines with literal animals. We're going to take it a step beyond that, but Thomas, why don't you give everybody a little overview of what we're going to get into today?
Yeah, let's do that. And I think to start with the overview, we need to go back to how we got here. So let's jump back to, if you can, mentally take a journey with me to summer of 2023. We're heading back. It's beautiful.
We're closing our eyes. Jackson closes.
Yeah, close your eyes. There's waves. And we came up with this really silly idea to get together and make a game in 8 weeks. So I think production has a little video clip they can show. But if you remember, Joy, Utsav, and myself got together And over this time frame, we made this game. I don't know that we ever agreed on a name for it. I think we were calling it Food-Based Game Dev. Somebody was calling it Food Fight Fright. But
Ooh,
TLDR, you are in a cafeteria trying to feed zombies, vampires, and skeletons before they eat you instead. And we built this game. So first of all, update on the staffing situation. So Joy will be joining us throughout this series. She is currently on vacation. She's working on her own indie title right now, and she took the month of July off to just invest in her game. So we will, when she comes on the stream, I'm going to make her show everybody what she's working on, because I think that's a super cool thing. So she's been off doing that, but she gets back in a couple of weeks, and then we're going to bring her in to talk as well. Utsav actually moved on in Unity and is now working on the central product team on the editor itself. Because of that, he doesn't have time to join us on Twitch for this type of stuff.
Utsav.
But we do miss you, Utsav, my brother, and hopefully we'll be seeing him at Unite in Spain. But that was that crew now. So now we have a new crew. And the number one requested feature for this game was multiplayer. And we got about 2 episodes in last year and realized we should have been architecting this game for multiplayer from the start. And I believe Esteban was telling us that, but we weren't listening. If I remember right.
Wait a minute. We were here. We could have not been here, but we're here because someone didn't listen to Esteban.
The writing was on the walls. The summer of Esteban continues.
No, you handle it like a champ. Like
There we go.
no, it's gonna be awesome.
So what we're going to do then with this, you see how the game is. It's just a very basic game loop, right? We've got waves of monsters coming. We throw food at them. And then the wave progresses, the timer hits, and the monsters keep spawning. We want to make this online multiplayer. So we are going to do that. And in order to do that, we are going to have to actually rebuild our game. We're going to have to rebuild the architecture. We're going to have to convert a lot of our code. And so we thought we'd do it on the internet for y'all.
The smart thing to do.
Live.
The smart thing to do, right? Just do it live.
Front of a crowd.
Yeah. But with that, I think there's a safe harbor statement that needs to be made here of like, we want to show you the process and what it's like. Part of the joy of us doing this series, I think, is you getting to see like developers struggle and riddle things out and discuss amongst each other and code together. So this is not the type of technical demo where we just show up with a pre-canned demo that we've practiced 150 times and we just knock it out perfectly, right? We're gonna build this live with you all. That being said, because it is netcode and it is a more technical topic, we are definitely behind the scenes trying to study up and make sure we have this a little more locked, so you don't have to watch us read scripting documentation for 2.5 hours a week. So we're trying to strike a balance there. But remember that this is much more of a hangout, fun. Let's make a cool game together, get results, talk about why. And we're gonna make mistakes. So join us in the mistakes. Have a good time.
Can I
It'll
make a
it way
request
more
to the
fun.
chat? Can the chat name the game? Because we didn't come up with a game.
Yeah, we need to put a survey together to name this game. So we'll work on that over the weeks.
Yeah.
And if I can add it on to what you said, Thomas, I think there's a great deal of vulnerability of you all to kind of step in and be like, hey, let's do this highly technical thing live and stumble along the way. So again, this is, I think, a great opportunity to bring everyone together as a community and be supportive and be encouraging of each other. We're going to ask for questions from you guys. If you have any questions about the process, what we're working on, or anything along the way, it's something that I want to do to make sure that you guys are all heard and very, very involved. So feel free to throw those questions into the chat if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube. We have them both open. We want to be here to hang out with you guys just as much as we're here to hang out with each other. So let us know. My question for Thomas and the gang: does the main character have a name? Can we get started with that and use
they
it?
do not.
Okay. So we're looking for names for both the main character and the title of the game. If you guys have ideas, we want to hear them.
I see
Cafeteria Cryptids is kind of broken. That is a good name.
Aiden, solid. And then Uncle Owen really going in with the Summer of Esteban.
Esteban's
Cafeteria. Easy.
Esteban, if you owned a cafeteria, would it be full of monsters? Would that be your personal cafeteria decor preference?
Why not? But it will definitely, if I own a cafeteria, it's gonna be a lot of sugar. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of sugared up people. Gonna sell a lot of sweets, a lot of donuts, a lot of cakes. So yes.
Ooh, yeah.
Might not be monsters, but a lot of hyped up people. There we go.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can stop hyping.
I'm on a diet.
Kirk says, "I'm on a diet." What's your age again, Kirk? Are you that age now?
What's my age again?
You said we're making references, dude. I'm here for it.
I'm here.
You guys are.
I see what you did there, Kirk.
Yeah. So for the chat, so we're not leaving y'all out of the inside joke. Kirk is going to see Blink-182 tonight. And so we have all been, for those in the US that know, if you don't know, that they're a punk rock band that was very prevalent when most of us grew up. And so, yeah, we've been making Blink references in the background for pretty much. We'll probably be dropping song titles throughout the show.
Yeah. And the bull over on YouTube called it out immediately because we had roses by the stairs. The bull followed up, surprises, let them know we care. So you guys are in on the joke now.
Aww.
So hop on in here if you've got your references.
You've got your references.
Keep them clean though. We know Blink has that boundary that they like to cross, but we're a PG family.
Trying to keep this family friendly, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We're about to go in.
Well, time to go in. Let's just, first of all, let's talk about what we have to design and what has to happen here. So I prepared some slides for you all because I know how we all love a good PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So first of all, let's talk about our architectures. There's a lot of different ways you can architect a multiplayer game, right? You can have like a centralized server when everybody else is trying to connect, like everybody connects to the server tells it what to do, and then everybody participating in the game is essentially a client, right? They are reaching to the server, and all the server does is basically handle the game online mechanics, right? We don't have we probably do have the availability, but we're not going to do that for this game. This game is a little more hyper casual. We don't need to worry about like cheating, hyper competitiveness, all that kind of stuff. So for us, we're going to do a client hosted listen server, which essentially means the first person to join the session and spin up a session is going to be the server and the client. They're going to be a host. So the netcode will run on their side of the world, and then all of the clients will then connect to them. Esteban, does that make sense? Did I explain that in a way that makes sense?
That makes super sense. And yes, indeed. And of course, and people are like, well, what is a client? Like, so that's actually like every client, you can think of it sort of like a synonym for player or device that where players are playing from. And that could be an Android tablet, that could be a PS4, that could be or any other console, that could be a desktop. So whatever. But and to Thomas' point, like that one in the middle, that is the client and host, that device is going to be running the simulation for a lot, most or all of the game objects that you're going to be synchronized from one device into another. Mm-hmm. And I will say, like Thomas, to your point, like your definition of like what is a netcode. What is a netcode solution in the transport layer? Your analogy is simply amazing. If we can later get into that, so that we can, that'd be awesome.
I mean, we can talk about it now. So we were joking behind the scenes about like, essentially we have a big old tube connected to the player, and we're running hamsters between the tube, right? And that's the packets. And jitters when the hamsters get a little bit too caffeinated, and so they start losing direction or going a little weird. But like we have to think about all of those types of things when we're building this out. And I think I want to cover something else that is actually a risk for this model. Because we're doing a client-host situation, that means that whoever is the host, they need more power, essentially, right? Like they are running more. Is that correct to assume? Because they are running the server simulations and they are running the local client simulations, right?
Yeah, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same if whoever is the host is running on a beefy gaming computer, and your multiplayer game requires a lot of resources or has a lot of game objects, like as to compare to somebody that's playing with an Android, like a Google Pixel 2 or something like that, and everybody else is connected to that older Pixel 2. So that this is definitely one of the cons of this architecture. Whereas the pros is that it's definitely one of the most one of the easiest one to set up,
right?
And even one of the cheapest solutions, because as your players like get your game, they can start their own sessions, and they don't require like an infrastructure of servers like how we have in something like game server hosting that mostly used by like big studios or medium-sized studios that like have invested in using that kind of architecture.
Yeah. Now I do want to grab a question from the chat, the Twitch chat at least. I don't have YouTube chat up quite yet, but Jackson is also heavily monitoring. But somebody is saying, how is this different from using a relay? So we are going to use Unity Transport or Unity's relay service to make this data happen. But we won't have a centralized server, if that makes sense. So we'll still be using Unity's network transport protocols.
And also to the point of that question, like when you're it's really not that different from relay because relay is sort of like the like a protection layer of connection in between the devices. So when you are using a relay, the relay service like lets you connect into a particular device, but obfuscates and hides details from that device. So it's not like you're connecting directly to that device IP directly. Like you never know when you might have a player that has ill intentions and maybe wants to hack the host device. So we don't want that. So it serves like a protection. But when you're using Relay, think of that you are using this client host structure.
Yeah. And again, thank you to WolfHeat16 for that question in Twitch. If you guys have questions as we progress through this, please let us know. Before we move, if you guys don't mind, a couple of great suggestions for game name in the YouTube chat. Yes, we had please. Jacob Cohen here with 2 Feast of the Undead and Gourmet Ghouls. Both very good.
Gourmet Ghouls is super good.
I like an alliteration, especially in the game sphere. And the Bull also pulled in with Fun Dead Food Fight, which is pretty excellent.
Also, just a question from the YouTube chat. Awesome Mike said, can you make the game local area network? Is it possible with Unity Relay? Which is, I don't think you need these networking features to make it local. Like this sits on top of your game. So yeah, just to clarify that.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right. We're going to, actually, let's jump over to a couple things that I want to talk about in the world of what we're building and or working on. I'm just going to do it quick and dirty. So this is the multiplayer summer series that Unity is actually doing right now. This is a part of
the Summer of Esteban.
The Summer of Esteban. This is the actual land. This is Esteban's landing page. This is his profile page right here that you can book time to learn from Esteban. So if you want to register for all the stuff we're doing about multiplayer, there's this beautiful blue register now button you can click. I think Jackson, if you could drop the registration link in chat, that would be sick. Yep. I am not signed into chat because I was running a production and didn't fix my sign-ins, and then I turned my phone off before the stream, which means I can't get to my 2-factor authentication. So if I don't reply to you in chat, I'm sorry. It's not that I don't love you, it's that I literally did not technically prepare myself to do that. But we should be prepared. Esteban, what else do you want to say about the summer of multiplayer before we dive forward?
Oh, the one thing is that our awesome community team is in August 14. We're gonna have our multiplayer Depths Day, multiplayer Blitz Day, where if people sign into our Unity multiplayer Discord server. So first of all, like shout out to the community management for also managing that server as well. And we're talking about thousands of people making their own multiplayer games that they can have direct access to Unity employees that are there and other community members that are making their games. So if you have any questions like, man, how do I deal with this? Why isn't this movement synchronizing? Or like why isn't my particles showing up from one client to another?
Right.
Take all of those questions over there, and the community is there to help. But on August 14th, it's gonna be an all-day event from 7 in the morning Eastern time in the US and all the way till 7 p.m. at night. Multiple people working on services for multiplayer services are gonna be there, and go ahead try out these tools for yourself and bring in all your questions. And it's just like a burst of help from Unity employees that are just gonna gather and help you with any questions that you may have. And I'm also gonna be participating and helping out during the day here and there and connecting in the Discord server.
Yep. Also, to get started, I see that our producer Freeman pinned a message in the Twitch chat, and then if it can be posted in the YouTube chat. So on Unity Learn, our learning website where we teach people how to make stuff with Unity, we have an intro to netcode course. Yeah. So if you want to prep up for August 14th, go over to that link that our producer Freeman posted, and you can get started with netcode for game objects. So just wanted to shout that out.
Yeah, definitely worth. Oh, good. I can actually show you that screen as well. Go. I have it prepped and ready.
And while Thomas does that, I want to ask Esteban and Kirk, if we're going to spend all this time getting people to make all these multiplayer games, do we think it's something that maybe we could pull together for a stream? We highlight some of our favorites.
I'm always down to play.
And we could play?
I'm down to play.
That's a maybe. Awesome. That's a firm maybe.
Awesome. All right. So this is the course we were talking about, and it's actually really valuable because a lot of what we're going to do in this first episode is, I don't want to say ripped from this course, but a lot of the work we need to do is actually directly handled inside this Getting Started with Netcode for Game Objects course on Learn. So it is really valuable that we have this available to us and we can jump in and access
fundamentals.
It. Yep.
The fundamentals, just like lacing up your shoes and shooting your free throws and all the other basketball analogies I can't think of right now.
Yep. All right. Let's keep moving forward. I do want to. Oh no! What happened? It just like hit all my stuff. Oh no! What are you doing? Okay, we're back. So I do want to mention as well. Someone asked, "What's it take to have a great beard?" I mean, I'm gonna be honest, y'all. A lot of it is just don't shave. That's part one.
Yeah, laziness.
But I do also recommend seeing a barber, letting them help you shape it, and then going from there. Oh, someone asking, can you use netcode for game objects in VR? You can, and there's actually a VR multiplayer sample out now. If I do remember,
they just announced it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Eric and his team at XR Interactions. Yeah.
Gotta look up the link because there's a setup page where you can get started and how to install it, how to set it up, even to connect online. Oof, they did an amazing job.
I'll find the links. Yeah.
Okay.
My brain had a small hiccup, and I thought we were talking about a setup page for how to grow a great beard. So apologies.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Figure it out.
Unity being a game engine, we don't have a lot of good beard tutorials, but I will tell you that beard oil goes a long way.
Yep. Combing
Combing your beard regularly is important, and general good hygiene. Okay. We'll stop talking about my beard. Let's dive forward into what we actually need to do. So we need to talk about like the stuff that we need to do for this. And I tried to make like a little bit of a list based on our research of what needs to happen. So first of all of our movement in this original demo is physics-based. And that poses a problem because physics and collision needs to be simulated on the server side. And when you use Unity netcode for game objects and you use network rigid bodies by default change your rigid body to kinematic, which means you can no longer modify velocities, do those kind of changes, if I remember correctly. Is that, Esteban, do you have thoughts on there, or is that any other details we need to add?
No, we can use like some physics based movement, but for this kind of game, like for this kind of game, like we don't really like need it the way exactly the same way that it was. Like you can use transform base movement, but yes, in order to get started, that's true. Like your network rigid bodies, as you'll see later in the stream, get converted into kinematic. So,
Yep.
but the cool thing is like yes, like it can definitely for this kind of game that we're building, you can actually just rely on transform based movement, and even the collisions you can track like handle them with triggers. In fact, that's what we did in a previous sample, in a previous 2D sample that we had. You might remember something like Galactic Kittens, but for 2D samples, the best ones are the bite-sized samples that we have available, and they're more updated, so they're really good.
Yep. So we'll need to do that. We're going to have to rewrite a movement system. That'll be one of the last things we do. We might get to it today. It might be homework. It'll just depend on how our timing works. We need to convert our players, enemies, and projectiles to network prefabs and make sure that they are now part of the network prefab system and not just a regular prefab, so that they can be spawned on the network side of the house, which is going to be really, really important. Then we are also going to need to update our damage and HP handling to also be handled on the server host side, right? Because things are going to be colliding on the server of the host, and then we're going to need to report that stuff back to our clients. We're going to need to sync our states and our variables for our countdown timer and our wave counter. All of that needs to be shared among clients, right? Everybody needs to know what time it is. So we'll use like network variables, that type of thing. And then we're going to need to put this thing on the actual Google webs, the internets, right? We got to actually put hamsters in the tubes and make them carry the data from client to person. And so we're going to need to set up Unity Relay in order to do that. And
Sounds like a solid plan.
Okay. Whew. That's the goal. That's the plan for this. And here's the thing, there might be more stuff we discover we need to do as we continue working through this project, right? But this is the start of it. What we're going to do today is we're going to set up our network manager. We're going to create a network UI for testing, right? So we need a way to easily turn the host client off and on while we're testing. And so we're going to build like a UI for that. That's pretty easy. If you followed any of the netcode for game objects tutorials, I think all of the tutorials start with that, if I'm correct. Like I'm thinking of like Turbo Makes Games. I don't think Jason did one. I know there was one by Samyam that did that. There was one by
Code Monkey.
Code Monkeys as well.
He
Yeah.
did an amazing one as well. Like all of them, honestly. Yeah.
So then we're going to convert our player to a network prefab. And we'll probably try to convert some of the enemies as well. Once we're done with that, we'll work on rewriting our movement to get past the physics-based movement to make it work. So those are kind of the steps we want to take today, depending on time, right? Our goal is to go for about an hour and a half. So we'll see how far we get.
Can we answer a quick question in chat?
Of course.
Jacob and YouTube asked, I was starting to learn Photon and Unity from my multiplayer game. Is
Sure.
netcode a better alternative? Is it beginner friendly?
What do you think, Esteban?
Depends on what kind of game you want to make, because Photon, I will say, like, it is a great solution as well. Like,
Yeah.
So definitely try them out, and try both of them out, and see like which one fits your game best, because Photon has multiple solutions. If you were to try like Photon Quantum, that's the more action-based, ECS based. So it will be like using Unity dots with netcode for entities. Whereas here we're using netcode for game objects. This is where you use regular game objects that we know and love to make multiplayer games. So I will say their samples are pretty good as well. So it depends. It's like I think that Photon Pawn would be like a good equivalent of using netcode for game objects. That is our in-house solution. So yeah, no, it's really like there's a lot of cool solutions out there. Our solutions will help you get there, but depends on what kind of game you want to build.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that, and thanks for the question, Jacob.
Yeah, great question, Jacob. And again, chat both on Twitch and YouTube. We're paying attention. If you guys have questions throughout the process, we'll try and find opportunities to answer some of the best ones. Of course, trying to let the gang settle into their workflow. We'll pick our moments, but hey, that's perfect. We appreciate you. Keep it coming.
Okay. Here we go, y'all. See if I can use this virtual desktop thing correctly. Did it work? Is the editor open?
76
Yeah.
instances.
Did
It's
it?
on.
made it.
Beautiful. Okay.
We did
All
it.
right. So this is the game in editor. We will be releasing a GitHub repo as well for this, so people can like play around with it, download the code, look at it as we finish each session. I got most of that set up this morning. I think I just need to change like the privacy settings, and we'll get that link out to everybody. But this is the game as we finished last year. So we've got our world set up. Right now it is very single player. This is the look in game view. And if I hit play, do I have audio off? I don't. All right, it's going to be really loud. I'm going to mute this really quick. That's fine. I don't have version control set up. I don't mind. So this is the game, right? It works. I'm using WASD to move around. I can throw food. I can reload. The reload timer kicks off. A little bit of a delay on that reload timer. Oh, now we're throwing pizza bombs. So everything seems to be working as intended. And then when we get hit, we die and we go back. So huzzah, it works so far.
It's good.
Super good.
So I think we actually need to install netcode for game objects before we can do anything, if I remember right. So let's go to some package managers. And switch from in project to, oh, you know what we should cover really quick? We're using 2022.3.34F1 currently is what we're going to build this in. So we're using the latest LTS version of the editor for this project. And Esteban, we talked about some really cool Unity 6 features. We might see about using those features to finish this project, right? So we might actually try moving over to Unity 6 to see what happens.
And also it would be cool to like try out the automated UI elements that you can get that help you connect online from Unity 6. So maybe that maybe at the very least, in that last step of taking the game online, it would be cool to definitely step it up to Unity 6 so that people can see the benefits. And
we'll do some testing to see what happens when we move to the Unity 6 version, like what parts of our code break or what work is required there, but we'll take a look. Okay. So yeah, we need to install netcode for game objects, which lives in the Unity registry. And we just scroll on down here to see we got services.
Yeah, those are some of the packages. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think they just released some of these packages like this. I think I saw a Slack message like yesterday that they just like released some of these packages. Yeah. So we haven't played with these yet. I have not.
On package manager, like all these?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and the reason why they show up is because Thomas has set up in this project enable pre-release packages. So all of these like multiplayer services, multiplayer tools. I don't know why I'm hovering my mouse like if you're seeing my screen.
It's habit.
Exactly. But yeah, all these just came out of experimental into pre-release mode. So check it out.
Okay.
Nice.
So anyway, we're going to install netcode for game objects. So I'll click this and we'll install it. And this is version 1.91, which is the release version that works with this version of the editor.
Yep. And it's
way more stable than pre-release, definitely.
Agreed.
And just to confirm, it's netcode for game objects is 2021 and above, right?
This version of it is yes.
Okay, cool. For everyone who's still on Unity 5, just kidding. Or I might not be kidding.
You might not be kidding, depending on how long they've been working on that project. I had a meeting, was it early last year, where I was talking to a dev they were converting their project from Unity 5 because their project had been out for like 6 years. And it was
Sounds about right.
wild. I know I haven't set up version control. It's okay. I need to go through and just delete that. It's giving me that error. I'll go through and clean that up later. Okay. We've installed netcode for game objects.
Boom.
So we're done. You can turn the stream off. Everybody, thank you for coming.
Thank you
Good
for
work,
coming,
everyone.
everyone. Please follow us on our
Kirk,
socials.
enjoy Blink 182.
All right, I'll see you all later.
But yeah, anyway, first. Oh, okay, this is where the nervous part starts. So we're going to create a.
You
First,
got this, Thomas.
we need a network manager, right? If I'm not out of my mind.
Yes, you do.
So we will go into here and we'll just create an empty game object. Boop, and we'll call it network manager.
What's a network manager?
So a network manager manages all of our network stuff. So like connections, prefabs. Yeah, see what I did there?
Yeah.
What else does the network manager do, Esteban? Like what other like important parts of this?
One of the cool, so definitely, Thomas, to your point, it starts off the network session. Like the network manager is literally like the entry point for starting a session as a host or having an incoming connection, and can also let other people know when somebody has connected or disconnected, or when the host just bails and everybody's like, okay, game over.
Game over, bro.
Game over. And the other cool thing that the network manager does is also like an access point to the Unity transport. So I'm kind of curious to see how the network manager looks right now.
Let me add it. So we're gonna go to add.
We haven't added the component.
Yeah, we'll go to add component and I'll search for a network manager.
Sorry, my question was premature, but I just want to set it up.
So we have a couple network things. We're gonna add a network manager. Notice you can go to the docs right here. Huzzah!
Oh, wow,
But then
so
this is what we
helpful.
have access to on our network manager. So we can set up our network transports. That's actually something we need to do. So we're going to change this to Unity transport. And for the purpose of the demo, we're going to be using local stuff. So we're actually going to be testing locally until we implement Relay.
Oh, Thomas, something real quick. When you install netcode for game objects, it actually installs automatically the transport layer. So if you go, you call Unity transport should be called. There we go.
Yep. So it's already
Whoa.
there.
Automatically install for you.
That's cool.
Dependencies are beautiful.
Nice.
Okay, so we set it to Unity transport is what we want to use. And then when we do that, it gives us like our packet queue size, payload size, we can heartbeat timeout, we can go through and change all these types of things. But you'll notice we also have a start host, start server, start client all right along here. So these are actual buttons at runtime that we can click to start the host, start the server, and start the client. And what we want to do is be able to set those like during like runtime, right? Because these editor buttons obviously aren't available when you're running the clients in like a build. So we want to just give exposure to those. And also knock stuff over while we're talking. That's another thing we really want to do.
Very
Here's a-
important step.
Here's an important question on chat. What's a unit? What's Unity transport?
Ooh, Esteban, go. That's why you're here.
Nice.
So the transport layer, if you think of a multiplayer game, there are 3 layers that work together. This is something that I've actually mentioned in my webinars. And the first one would be like the gameplay layer. That's where you do all the regular stuff of like move your character, draw the UI, like handle some physics, and all the tools that you know how to use for single player development. The netcode layer, think of it as somebody like writing down information and being like, oh, wait a minute. All of us are playing on a 4v4 game, something like that. Thomas just moved from this direction to this other, from this position to this position. I should take note of that. And I am writing a letter letting Jackson, Esteban, and Kirk know that Thomas is actually moving and doing an attack. The transport layer goes, I don't know what you wrote on this letter. All I know is that I need to send it to Jackson, Kirk, and Esteban. So the transport layer, think of it like a postal service that for some reason it uses gerbils in a tube of gerbils and sends and splits up the letter from the netcode layer, gives it to lots of little gerbils, and they send the message in packets of data through the little tubes. Think of that like the transport layer.
And
Nice.
this is really important because the gerbils can't read, so they don't care what's in the message, right? Unless you have a gerbil that can read, in which case
I love it. It keeps.
I want to
getting
meet
better.
your gerbil. Yeah. So if you have smart gerbils what can read, then you can change things up. But for the purpose of the transport layer, they can't read, so they're just running the data, right? And then there is a smarter gerbil that can read that's going to translate that data on the client side.
I promise this is all related.
This all makes sense. It's not
I
just us talking about
love an
gerbils.
analogy. I love an analogy. This is what it's all about, making it as approachable to as many people as possible.
All right, so we've made this. We've got our network manager. We have our transport component, and then we have this. Notice that when I added the network manager, it also automatically added the Unity transport component, and that's where we can choose our protocol type. But we need to get these buttons rocking and rolling. So let's create some UI buttons really quick. Do UI, and I want a Text Mesh Pro button. Perfect. Let's go to game view. Oh, where's my button? Button frame. Oh no, I made it as a child of an object, y'all.
Oh, it's all
It's all good.
Okay, let's do this. Let's get out of these objects. And I deselect everything and try it one more
Happens to the
time.
best of us.
Yeah, it does. Input, see button, Text Mesh Pro. Just do it again. All right, you know what we're gonna do? We'll just pull you out, and then we'll just reset everything and see what happens. Bloop. And then in the button canvas, did it not add a canvas? Oh, that's what's going on. It's because we already have UI canvases. It's trying to use the existing canvas. So we actually need to make a new canvas first. Blop. And then we call this canvas network UI canvas. Now that we have that, we can make a button as a child. That's what we need to do here. UI button Text Mesh Pro. And then the canvas, let's make sure it's screen space overlay. And when you go to game view, there should be a button right in the middle of the screen. Yeah, okay, cool.
Perfect. Game's finished.
Game's done. We did it, y'all.
10 out of
GG's.
10. No notes.
No. It's
All right, so let's look at our canvas. I think our canvas is full screen. Yeah, we're good here. So we'll grab our button, and let's just move the button over to like here, probably. And apologies for those watching if you're like, why is Tom going so fast? It's because the purpose of this course is not to teach you how to make a button. We'll say server.
Yep.
And then we'll duplicate this button. We'll scoot it down. Boop. And the text for this button will say client. And then we need to do a host as well, right? Actually, I want the client to be lower. Does it matter? No. Will it bother me? Yes.
What's everyone's favorite multiplayer game right now?
Ooh, he's hitting hard questions.
It's a tough question.
Mine is all. Oh, go ahead.
No,
Go first.
I play Rocket League daily. I love it.
Nice. Okay.
Daily.
Okay.
That's
Daily.
actually-
That's a commit.
Are you
Professional.
like right up there in terms of that skill ceiling
no.
is so high? Like I
No,
played it and I
uh-uh.
see people just jetting around and I'm like, I can't do any of that. But are you one of those jetters?
I fly. I use like one of the heavier, the chunkier cars for defense. But yes, I fly around still. But
awesome.
no, I'm
Nice.
nowhere near pro. Like the things I see is like soccer acrobacy through cars. It's so cool to look at.
Very cool.
All right, so let's talk about organization just a little bit. So we have the way this is organized. We have the scripts folder, and we have our scriptable objects and our mono behaviors, and then our mono behaviors are broken down by like who's doing what. I think it would make sense to make a network behaviors folder.
That is indeed very good.
And so for those that are like, what do you mean network behavior? So like that's the difference between netcode for game objects. I mean, code functionality wise, when something needs to work on the network, it needs to be a network behavior. And that's how it gets access to a lot of that stuff. Just like we use mono behaviors in our game layer, the network behavior is what we're using in our network layer.
Oh, and also real quick, because in case somebody's probably thinking about it in the chat, like because earlier we showed client, and host, but then we have this new option. So this is good because now if Thomas wanted to make like a build of the game and just act as a lonely server that's just waiting for incoming connections, then he can he can go ahead and try that. So this is something a good option to add as well when you're testing your game. Because remember, even though we're using client hosted for the network connection, the connection model or the network topology as it's also called, if let's say in the future Thomas wanted to upload this to a game server hosting, then it would need a build that only acts as a server and that's it, and it's not a participating player.
And to add to that too, this is something that I mean, granted, I'm not a professional multiplayer. I guess I am a professional multiplayer developer now because I'm doing it right now. I'm getting paid for it. But like, this isn't like something I've done for 10 years, right? And one of the things that's harder for me to wrap my head around when I'm trying to abstract this stuff is with your server build, you technically don't need like any of the rendering data or any of the visibility. You know what? Like, you don't need any of that because the server is just doing the multiplayer stuff. And I think for me, the hardest thing to translate when I'm building this stuff out is like, is it running on the server or is it running on the player, and who's getting data where? Like, I find myself having to stop and like kind of draw those interactions out a little bit while I'm coding. So I don't know if you have a similar experience. But
it was one of my biggest hurdles as well when I was first starting to study this library, and yeah, like it is one of the biggest hurdles, even mentally, because you cannot think of your character as just one character in a device that you may control or not. Now the important characters will be replicated, and that means that if you have a character and I'm moving it around and we're all playing together, everybody needs to know where my player is, and they get like a copy or replicator version of my player. And you got to start thinking in those kind of senses.
You all don't have to answer this right now, but I think a common question is like, when you're starting to design a game like this, do you design with multiplayer in mind like right away, or do you go from like standalone, like what we did with with scope check to go into net check? And I think we're going to be answering that question on this journey, but like that makes me think about how you're designing like your architecture, and it's not all just game objects. It has to be converted to network behaviors. So worth mentioning that question, and then we won't that's a whole conversation. So just wanted to put that question out there.
So that being said, we should probably make our first network behavior. So I've created a mono behavior right now, a new script called network UI. And we're just going to pop this open inside of Visual Studio. And oh, that was nice. The little virtual desktop just switched me over. Hopefully the font's big enough for everybody to read. I actually can't see my co-hosts right now because I'm using virtual windows to jump around. But this is our standard issue Unity boilerplate script, right?
You can hear us though, right, Thomas?
Oh, I can hear you. You all sound beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing good so far. Yeah.
Cool. So we got our standard boilerplate script. So the first things first is we probably need access to netcode, right? So using Unity, is it unity.netcode? Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
And then because this is a network behavior, this now needs to extend network behavior instead of mono behavior, right? And then we're really just working with buttons. So I'm trying to remember how we did the button setup before. I believe we used like a lambda, right, to set that up. Well, I need to remember how that code works, but we can kind of figure it out from here. Basically, we wanted to set up an on-click event so that when it clicks, it calls a specific thing, is all we're looking for. So we're going to be lazy. We're going to say public, what is it, a button? Oh, you know what? We need to get a using Unity engine.ui. Yeah. And then we'll just do public button, button. And then we'll just write like an on-click function for this, right? So I'm going to be super lazy about this and just do public void start server on click. And then all we need to do is reach out to the network manager dot singleton dot start server, right?
Nice.
And if I'm not mistaken, like this class, since it's just a thing that you run locally on your client, I don't think it really needs to be on network behavior, because since it's not out of synchronized thing. But here's the thing: everybody has access to the network to their network manager, because everybody has an instance of the network manager. But whoever has the host, whoever starts the session, like is acting as a server as well. So this is where you can start to be like, oh wait, what?
See?
What's the host? What's the
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just gonna go through and do start. We'll just do start client on click, and then again, I'm just changing these functions, right? So we're just starting host, starting server, and starting client, which I think you all can imagine those are going to do exactly what we tell it to do, right? So that's pretty much this function right here. We're using netcode, we're using UI. Easy enough. And then I'm just going to drag each one of these onto the
Buttons.
onto the buttons. Actually, you know what we
To
can
the
do?
buttons,
I'll be even lazier. I'm gonna do 3 buttons.
Nice.
We'll just do this. We'll do server button.
I'm glad that my computer science professor's advice is holding up in my professional life, which is the lazier you are, the better.
I say lazy. I don't know about
It's called
lazy.
the-
No, it's a good
Efficiency.
lazy. It's a good lazy. That was his point, which is, why be so difficult?
And then
Simple.
we'll add this mono behavior to our network UI canvas. We have it here.
Mhm.
Why? Do I have an error? Why isn't it showing me what I want?
Did you make
Save.
them public, or did you make them serializable?
I did. I thought. I didn't make them private. I made them public. Oh, here we go. It's because it needs to complete the domain. It was just taking a second to think about its life. That's all.
Deep thoughts for a Tuesday
Mhm.
morning.
Yep. So we'll drag our buttons down here really fast. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
I like big buttons, and I cannot lie. Nice.
Thank you
Hold
for
on
that,
a minute.
Luis. We appreciate you in the Twitch chat.
No, hold on. I'm doing this wrong. Y'all. Gang. My brain is trying to do 2 different processes at the same time.
You're good. I'm gonna answer a question in
Do it,
YouTube
please.
chat, which is what if I want to start a server and be the host at the same time? So I'm not gonna fast forward too far, but you will have I think we're gonna be building out the game, I believe, and then we'll have clients that are on our desktop, and then our editor is usually gonna be the host. So you'll see it later, Ashray, but we'll be building out the game and then joining a different way. So.
Ashley asking the hot questions. Keep them coming, gang. Again, we're watching the chat. We're here to hang out with you guys and answer as many as we can.
All right, which button is this? Is the server? Yeah, and I think if I understand the question correctly, when you start the host, you are starting a server, correct?
Mhm.
Or are we you're
Yes,
doing
you
the
are.
same thing?
Yeah.
So
And
I'm
the
just hooking
reason-
up
the-
these
the-
functions real quick.
And the
No, you're
difference is the difference is that host is owns the session, but also participates. It's I guess if you're going into a bowling alley and the person that helps you set up and just joins your game as well for some reason.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay. So we've pretty much set up our buttons right now. And there's a multitude of ways I could do this. I know I could actually just write a listener and add them to the listener, but I was being quick about it. So now basically we have this. We have our on-click event happening on each of the buttons. And then on-click, we're calling either start server, start host, start client, right? Easy peasy. So, quick, basic, and now those work. And if we want to make sure things are working, we could do a debug.log. If we really wanted to, actually, we might want to do that just for safety, just so we know stuff is happening, at least on this client side. What do you think about that?
Wait, what? Sorry, can you say that again?
Just have
Thomas?
a debug that tells us when we start a server, client, or host, so that we actually see some action happen.
Yeah,
might not be a bad idea to make sure these are working. Client started.
And also later or in another episode, when a character gets created, it's this is the character on the server side. This is the character on the client side.
Yep.
But that's for later.
So we'll just do a quick test to make sure that we set up a button correctly, because we want to make sure that it shows off to a good easy. So if I hit server, bloop. Oh, it's probably hidden behind a UI. There we go. So if I click on server, hey, look at that. Server started. Ta-da. And if we go to don't destroy on load,
There we go. You read my mind.
we see the network manager is here as a don't destroy on load. It's a singleton. Why are there 2 of them? Whoa. 3 of them.
There we go.
Oh, you know why did it?
Okay, that's weird. Wait,
Oh,
did
the
another
fourth
one just
popped
pop up?
Yeah, it's every time the game restarts, because the game loops restarting and it's reinstantiating that. So we need to take a look into that. Interesting.
But we statically place the network manager. So
Yeah.
what the heck?
Mauricio, if you don't add the singleton call to the network manager call, then you're not referring to the right
Right instance.
the right instance.
Interesting. So day 1 of our code is already weirding us out.
Luis is on fire. 3 managers. What is this? A middle management meeting?
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's a Luis thing.
Let's go.
Yeah, we got to talk about our synergies.
We're gonna pivot.
More buzzwords,
We're
everyone.
gonna pivot real quick and execute on the.
I mean, we don't have right now that the scene has stopped. We don't have any other network managers, right? They are.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. We'll have to troubleshoot that in the back end.
Because is it because when you Is it on click? Is it no?
It's not doing anything in on-click, but I think what's happening, because like I think our code right now reloads the scene every time you die. It just reloads the whole scene.
Oh.
So I wonder if the singleton instance isn't cleaning stuff up.
Because it's not destroying it on load, and then the singles maybe Chris and
Yeah.
Okay, this is weird. It's so weird. This is the first time that I've seen in a game that you get multiple instances of a network manager.
On a YouTube chat landed on that as well.
Huh.
So very interesting thing that we're running into there. We'll have to look into it deeper because I'm not 100% sure, and I don't think y'all want to watch this. Maybe you do want to watch us troubleshoot it live for 45 minutes, but that is a really interesting thing that's happening. And I assume
Freeman, cue the Wii Store music.
Let's hit one more play and just watch that happen again to see if we can figure out like what the timing on that is. Though I am interested in seeing the cause. I know VCS isn't set up right. Okay, so we're good. It's just one.
Exactly. It's not destroying on load. That makes sense that it's in that section. So
okay, I died. We restart, and there's another one.
There's no like there's nothing in console about like a.
So it's like it's like multiple game objects called network manager that have reference to one singleton.
Yep. I'm trying to look at our what our errors are.
But that's a version control thing, if I'm not mistaken. Unity BCS. Yeah,
it's a version control issue. So we need to take a look at that and see what's going on here. But
okay,
we do have our network manager set up in this project. Now, remember, we are occasionally going to see behavior that makes us go, because we're not building a multiplayer game from scratch. We are converting, right? And so there's all these other systems that we have built, not thinking about network, that are now going to start doing stuff.
So to circle back to Kirk's question from earlier, when designing a game, is it best to keep multiplayer in mind from the onset?
It is indeed better to like already start off thinking like how is it the players are gonna share it. So what we're doing here is kind of like an experiment. This is not the ideal way. It can be done. It can be done this way, but yes, it's best to like if you already know right at the bat that you want to make a shared experience, a multiplayer game, start off like that.
Yeah. Yep. Look at these leading questions that
we set up for this.
Really setting the stage.
Ready to do this. All right, so we have our network manager. We do have that one issue we're going to have to troubleshoot, and we can discuss next time.
Yeah.
But let's zoom in back into our game, because the next thing I think we need to do, and again, I can't see my cheat sheet, but I'm
What's
pretty
his name?
sure...
What's his name? Say
his name is currently Standy McStandenson is their name. This is Standy.
That's so good.
That's strong.
Yeah, it's a strong name, and the reason for it was because we had a standing character that was a capsule that we named Standy McStandenson, and then the character, they never got renamed, so...
This is one of those placeholder names that makes it to print. And you're just like, map, locked in now.
I wanted to change it to say player for the prefab, and I couldn't bring myself to do it. Like it felt really weird.
The emotional attachment's already there. It's great.
Yep. Nice.
All right, so we need to make this a network object, if I am correct, right? And I actually think I want to do this from the prefab editor, if everyone's cool with that. So let's go into our prefabs, character, and double click on Standy, and jump into our prefab editor.
Ooh. AKA the Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone?
Yeah, that's what because you're in this blue, like you're like in another place. I call it the Twilight Zone when I am in a prefab. Yeah.
Fair. Esteban, I heard you piping up. Did you have something you were saying?
No, and to the earlier point when we were discussing like the responsibilities of the network manager. So we briefly mentioned that the network manager knows what kind of prefabs are going to be instantiated and participating. So that's what Thomas is going to be doing now. It's going to be taking a prefab that is not ready for network replication and add that functionality. So it's going to basically make this prefab use the netcode layer.
Exactly, and we'll just add. I think if I add a network transform, it'll throw that error, right? That I want everyone to see that tells you that it's not a network object. Isn't that how I do that?
Ooh, yeah. That's a good one. All
right, so I'm going to throw the network transform on here, and this is what's synchronizing data across the network, right? So we can actually choose we're syncing position, rotation, and scale. And for the character, we never make the character bigger or smaller, so we don't need to worry about scale. We do, however, want to make sure we're thinking about position in the X, Y, and Z. And the Y we very specifically need to, I discovered, because otherwise it'll spawn it in the middle of the level and he'll cut through the floor and it'll look very strange. And then the rotation, of course, we want to make sure we're syncing the rotation of the character because they'll be moving around. And our character can actually only rotate on the Y, so we don't need to worry about anything but that. And the reason why we're selecting this specifically is the less data we share, the less bandwidth required, right? The less synchronization needs to happen. So we're just being optimal if we can.
The less packets, less packets we send, the better.
Yeah, we got to keep under our hamster budget, and it's really important.
Yeah. So only a few 100 bytes. That's it. A few
Yep.
100 bytes.
Shout out to the multiplayer team, by the way. I hope you're okay with me talking about packets as hamsters. Because
Or if we're slaughtering anything,
we apologize. All right,
It's a
so we
compliment,
got.
if anything,
Yeah.
because people love hamsters.
So this is good. I have autosave on the prefab. Now, if I remember right, oh, it's not giving me the error.
Maybe it did it automatically add it because I think that you're searching for the network object, right?
Yeah, because like usually when you try to use it, it gives you like an error that's like, oh, this needs to be a network object, and it's not, and it usually gets mad at me. Maybe if I drag into the scene, it'll trigger it. Nope. Okay. Well, either way, we were trying to do something really fun. It didn't work. Instead, we just need to make sure this is a network object, right? So, and this is a nice little error here. This game object contains a rigid body, but no network rigid body. Add a network rigid body component to improve rigid body synchronization. So we definitely want to do that because we do want to make sure that like the rigid body on the server side and the client side knows what's going on. So we'll add a network rigid body. Ba-pow! Nothing to change here. It's literally just this script that'll synchronize that data for us. And then we do need to make this a network object. Let me save really quick. And we'll do network object. Ta-da! And that's pretty much what we need to do to get this ready to be a network prefab.
There you go.
There you go. Now, I did break the design rules I wanted to do because I actually wanted to make a variant of this that was network ready. But I didn't, so I'll fix that for next time. But our character is now a network prefab. And the last thing we want to do is we actually need to tell the network manager where this exists, correct? Because the network manager is looking for a player prefab. So we can just drag Standy in right here. And now we have a player prefab. And what's going to be different is now it will actually spawn the prefab when we open the server or the host. So we can delete these characters out of the scene.
Oh.
Did it do
See?
the thing?
Oh, you did it.
Yeah, see, the clone does not have a network object component. Would you like to add one now? I'm actually going to say no, I'll manually add it, and I'm going to delete this out of the scene, so we don't need it. But it is checking for that when objects are in the scene as you're clicking through them. Like, it wants to make sure they have what they need. And then we're going to delete the default Standy. Goodbye, Standy. And I think this should actually make it spawn when we hit start host, right?
Yep.
Exactly. And I will say, like, even though that field of like the player prefab is one that is very useful, especially when you're starting out, technically it's an optional field. Yeah, you can actually at runtime, if you wanted to start your network manager and after whatever action, loading time or whatever, you spawn a character on the server and you can actually change the ownership. So if you spawn, there's an option of spawning your player and then assigning it to the right client. So it's kind of weird, but an important field such as the player prefab is technically an optional one. There are many multiple ways to spawn a player.
Yep. And we have some really, really angry code, which I think is causing us a problem. This is our nav mesh movement script causing issues with our zombie cloning. So we'll need to take a look at that. Also, this is not, I think because of that, it is causing issues. So what we can do to fix that is I'm just going to disable our enemy pools for now, so there's no enemy spawning. And I'm actually going to go ahead and disable our UI so we don't see the countdown happening either. So we can turn off the wave manager and the spawn manager. And where else can we turn things down? The food pools.
While Thomas is figuring this out, Wolfeed asks, how's the data transmitted? Is it compressed? And then they ask JSON. I don't think this is JSON, but
no. This I gotta say, like, to be honest, like the Unity transport is one solution that I haven't like super, at least for me, I haven't like super dived into it and like modified it or customized it, which you can do. Like technically the transport, like you can even create your own transport layer if you wanted. It's sort of like the same way that you can make your own scriptable render pipeline.
Yep.
But you can make your own transport layer. But see, this is a good question. This is a good question, and it's good to take it to the Discord server. But
yeah,
I'll try and answer for next one.
Yeah, for the netcode for game objects, documentation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at, so we do have an error popping in now that I've disabled those things. So it's saying that Stanley McStanison has no network object assigned to it. And I think I know what's wrong here, but Esteban, you might need to guide me. But I'm pretty sure it's because on our network manager, if we go to our network, we should have a network prefabs list, right? And I don't think Stanley McStanison exists on this prefabs list.
No, but by default, yes, you do need a list. You do need a list of the player prefabs. But if you fill in the player prefab, it'll work. So that's like saying, oh, okay, you're the player prefab. Okay, by default, yeah, I already know that you're part of the network session. So and that list of prefabs that Thomas is pointing out, like to give context to the chat, is that all of the other objects that you're gonna spawn, whether it's a kind of bullet or enemy that shows up in the game that at runtime will be instantiated and it'll show in the middle of the session, then those need to go in a list of like approved prefabs that'll be part of the session, and that's what that list is for. But it can be empty at the beginning if you just like want to have one character in a scene just walking around just to test that you're synchronizing the movement. And yeah.
So what you're saying is this, when I hit host and we get this error, something else is happening here that we need to think about. So not configured client exception, oh, this is VCS, but like player prefab, Stanley McStanison has no network object assigned to it. So what's actually happening here is it doesn't think it's a network object.
Huh.
Let's go take a look at that and make sure that we actually set them up right. Interesting. So he still doesn't have a network object. So that must not have saved. And a rigid body also didn't save. So that's what needs to happen, is we need to actually add a network object here. So for some reason, that change didn't fix. And then we need to add a network rigid body. Okay, cool. Okay. Now let's try this again. See? Live, vibing, making mistakes.
You guys are doing great, though. The problem solving, the teamwork, ooh, off the charts.
Right. So now we've turned this thing on, and if I hit host, look at that.
Hey.
Now he's moving. I want to be very clear, though. He's moving on this side. I don't think we would actually see him move client side, because this is the movement script is manipulating him on the host. So I don't think we would actually see him move client side. Is that correct in assuming?
Actually, I was thinking of something else. Thomas, can you repeat that again? Sorry about that, dude.
Yeah, no, you're good. So like movement is working currently, right? But I'm willing to bet that if we were to do a build and run a client side, we would not see him move.
And in fact, I believe that one way that we can test it, I believe that the play mode tools can work with 2022.3, but we can try it out. Like, can you try it out and go into window package manager?
Yeah.
Play mode tools.
Oh, yay!
Yo, Esteban's about to change my life live on stream.
Maybe.
It's called play mode tools.
It should be a multiplayer play mode tools. But I believe that one might just be.
Is it?
If it's only it's I have a project open that has it open, that has it applied. Actually, keep on.
Okay, cool.
Keep on. I'll let you know the actual name.
All right. So what we've done so far, though, is we've converted our player. Right, our player is set up as a network object, and they're moving. They're not moving, but they're there. Part of me wants to do a build to show you that they're not going to move, but then also I don't know how long a build's going to take live, so I don't want to risk it. But pretty sure that the player movement is not going to synchronize. If it does, I'm going to cry, because I spent hours trying to get it to work the other day and it didn't work, but we'll find out. So we have it there. The movement is there. It's physics-based movement, which causes issues, but that's kind of the basis. So we probably want to do this for our enemies as well now. So I'm actually going to, in my prefabs folder, I do want to create like a nice folder here, and I'm just going to call this network enemies. Or actually, let's do enemies-network so that we know that they're enemies here. And our enemies folder, we cleaned up our enemies folder so good. Look at us. So these are our 3 enemies: Zombo, Skelly, and Vampire. So I will actually... can we duplicate you? Perfect. We'll just duplicate this one. Jump into prefab mode, and same thing. We need network object, and then a network transform.
Nice.
Blah, blah, blah. So that's set here. And then for the enemy, Position X, Y, and Z. Rotation just Z, and scale. Again, we're not going to be doing any scale movement, so we're good here. So that's our skeleton enemy, and then I think we should definitely rename this to.
Hey Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, real quick. The tool that I was about to recommend. Yeah. Should have trusted my gut instinct, but yes. This one is Unity 6 and later. So
Got it. So we're stuck. Okay.
Oh well.
Next time. Okay, let's make a vampire enemy, and I'll just name it vampire enemy networked. Again, I'm just labeling these so that I know that they're networked, because that's really important.
If I can ask a question, just generally,
Yes.
everybody, I would love a response from anyone who has one. Skeletons, vampires, or zombies? What's your number one?
They're actually really good questions.
Dang.
Chad, I want to hear from
Vampires.
you too. Vampires, cool.
You can fly around.
Yeah,
It's all good.
turn into a
In the
bat.
night.
Zombies are probably the best dancers.
Okay.
Okay, I want to hear why.
Yeah,
Like,
can
actually,
you
why?
back that
Like,
statement up?
yeah, there's like I've seen some zombie prom movies, but I want to
Yes.
hear like the what's why.
I
Is
didn't
there-
see any. I didn't see any vampires in Thriller. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So we're
you're
using
right.
Thriller.
You read
Wasn't
my
there a
mic.
zombie dancing scene in Hocus Pocus?
There was.
Okay.
That was the whole town, right? Where they cast magic on them and they do
Yeah.
I put a spell on you or whatever.
Yeah. We got Wolf Heat with skeletons and Davina with vampires. The Bull also on Team Skellies. Am Deep zombies. It's all good, honestly. They're all good picks. There's no wrong answers here.
See, the thing with-
I'm Team Zombies
The
personally.
thing with vampires is there's too much drama. There's a reason why that one movie exists, and it's to warn us that if you're friends with a vampire, you might end up in like a
Like a lot of drama.
teenage drama like novel or something.
And you live in the forest.
I like that you referred to it as that one movie. You're like,
No,
not giving it the
yeah.
screen time, not giving it the attention.
It's like what I call I call Supernatural the demon show. Are we
Do I
building?
dare build and run? I think I will, but I'm gonna turn off
Do
the audio because it's wonderful music. But when you start running multiple instances of it and audio is in the build,
It's gonna layer.
it starts to cause like this chaos. Let's just make sure things work when I hit host. All right, it spawns. Homie can run around. Okay, cool. So let's do that. Let's save. We'll do a build and run and see where we're at because it's been just a little bit over an hour. We'll make a folder in here called new folder builds, and we'll do it.
Also, how's everyone doing in chat? Just want
Yeah, chat. How we holding up? I realize we're just doing like maintenance-y stuff right now, but it's gonna get pretty code heavy in the next couple of weeks. So.
No, I think it's been great. People are asking great questions. They're also trying to help problem solve. Again, I think the excellent thing that I've seen in my short time here at Unity is that there's a very community-focused mentality, and it's carried both by people in Unity, yourselves, all on this stream, as well as the people watching and engaging and hanging out in the Discord and helping, trying to problem solve for each other. It's very, very fun to see.
Yo, my build failed already. What is going on?
Oh no.
Look dev does not exist in the namespace. Unity editor.rendering. There are compiler errors. What is look dev? Mono here's character player controllers. Probably should say
Ooh.
look dev.
This is a good question, but I think it's a simple answer. Amin Deep in YouTube says, is it possible to create multiplayer functionality over Bluetooth connections using Unity netcode, or are there any workarounds? I think the answer
a very
is
good question.
I think the answer is since it doesn't go through the fiber optics and the pipes on the internet, and it's just through over-the-air Bluetooth, netcode actually wouldn't be the solution. It would be like a plugin, right, for Bluetooth.
I'm guessing yes also, but good question.
That's a good question.
So, there we go. I love questions like these. Like they highlight like the gaps of knowledge and like, okay, this is maybe this is another area where you want to show, investigate, and learn.
Yeah.
Like
the Bull is calling out Twitch chat on YouTube chat, but I will say the Bull, you're missing out on some song references in Twitch
You
chat.
are.
Puns too.
But also, it's good to have you. The Bull, I've missed you.
Oh,
The Bull was one of our like diehard viewers from Scope Check, so it was good to see.
Oh,
him
really?
back.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
love
I've
the
been
Bull.
rewatching those because again, you guys did those in starting in April
April last
2023.
year? Yeah.
So I've been rewatching them to get an understanding of what you guys created, and highly recommend it if anyone wants to catch up fully on this series as we kind of progress. You can go back; they're all in the live tab on the YouTube page. And I remember seeing the Bulls comments popping up as I was watching back. So thank you for joining us again.
All right, I'm just going to test really quick. I do have it running on my other monitor. I forgot to change the build settings to not be full screen. But let me just test really fast. If I go to game and I connect to the client, does it work? Oh, I didn't hit play. Maybe I should turn on play mode first. Y'all think? Does that work? All right, let's try it. Here we go. So if I hit client, there's a host running on the other side of things. Yeah, so I'm trying to move on the client side and notice I'm not moving. Like I'm using WASD, I'm matching them. I should have a camera on my hand so you can see. But this hand is not. But this hand, like, trying to move. No movement happening. I don't know if you can see my keyboard. I can't see myself.
No.
But
That's dedication.
yeah. So yeah, it's not moving. But if I move on the host side, you'll notice that it moves and animation isn't syncing, but movement, rotation, and position are syncing. So do y'all see that? Actually, let's do it. Let's do a better way to demonstrate this. Hold on. Let me Alt F4 this thing. Please don't Alt F4 the stream. Okay, we're good. What were you saying, Esteban?
No. I was gonna say like we only see like one character right now. I will say.
Yeah. And they
You
are
Not two.
You did see two characters in the game? There was two on the screen. I'll show you. Hold on.
All right.
Try again.
Unless I have taken mind-altering substances, which, you know, could happen. Let's start with our resolution presentation, though. We're not going to do a full screen. We're just going to do a windowed mode. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool. That should change things a little bit. We'll do a quick build and run. Builds. Boop. Yep.
Thomas, someone called you very brave for doing this on Twitch.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I've been nervous about this for 6 months.
In any
Like,
of the pre-production stuff, you were very clear about like it makes me nervous, and like
I am
again,
very nervous.
super brave, like vulnerable, like hey, and again, the support that we've seen from not only the people in this room but the people in chat as well is great.
We're doing good so far. Yeah.
Okay.
this-
So I can't.
Hey, there we
So
go.
here's the
Second
build. Y'all see the build, right? So
Yes.
if I hit, I'm gonna make the build the host. Blah. So we see a character here.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to go back to the editor,
Here we go.
and I know I will fix this version control pop up by next week. I promise all of you. So we don't have to see that anymore because I'm gonna see that in my dreams. Okay, so we'll run this really quick. So now we're here. We're in game mode. I know it's not configured. Where did my UI go? Did I hide my UI? Oh, I know. Hold on.
Oh,
16 by
free
9.
aspect. Yeah.
Oh.
Did the UI get turned off? What is going on here, kids?
Wait, what?
Yeah, no, I know what I did wrong here. It's my fault.
What'd
It's
you
because
do?
of the
Oh, the anchoring.
oh no. What is happening?
Oh,
All right.
We are
Okay.
having a virtual workplace issue. Give me a sec. I'll fix it.
All right, Freeman, cue Harlem Shake.
well,
For
now
that.
we're all here. We're hanging out. And while we buy Thomas some time, again, we want to remind everybody that we are looking to name this game. So if you have any great ideas, please let us know. Of course, we've seen some good ones already. We are also discussing what to rename our character because they're currently called Standy McStanderson. Is that right?
It's perfect.
Correct.
Cool. So if we wanted to, I saw a comment earlier in the Twitch chat from Mountain Storm who suggested Stan just to carry on the vibes. I don't know. I don't think we're going to make that decision today because it's a big one, and I think the team's going to really need to deliberate on it. But again, thank you, everybody, for hanging out. We've got quite a few of you hanging out in both our Twitch chat and our YouTube chat. If I am a new face to you, totally understandable. Today is my first stream. My name is Jackson,
I
or
can't believe
Jax.
this is your first stream.
I know, with the squad.
What is-
I've only been here for like 2.5 weeks.
I feel like we've all been friends for like.
I know, fast friends. You know, we talked about One Piece TCG, and then all of a sudden we were like, we're ready to go. But again, I am a new senior community manager here with Unity, and I'll be taking care of these live streams. So very, very excited to bring you guys some very, very cool content as well. So thank you to Thomas, Esteban, and Kirk for all being here, sharing your expertise and your knowledge. Thomas, you let me know when we're good to go. I can stop filibustering anytime.
We're back. The filibuster can end.
We're back.
Thomas is a sham. I keep telling you, man.
Wow.
Shots fired.
No. He's a champ. Like,
He's a champ. He's a champ.
I thought you said champ. I was like, oh my god.
I heard
a champ. No.
So we just need to fix the button layout really
It
quick.
was the wrestling promo from Esteban.
So what the issue was, gang, is we set up our buttons, but we it was not set to 16:9 ratio in here, and so it messed up the scaling of the screen space overlays. Basically, what happened. So we can just tell it to scale with screen size and the reference resolution. We can do 1920 by 1080, and then it's going to shrink our buttons, and that's okay because we can go to the scene view, we can go to our rect transform, and we can move them up and over here, and maybe scale them up a little bit, like probably like that.
So it was the anchoring.
Yeah, it was the anchoring that messed us up. So, okay. This should be better. We're going to save. We got to do a quick build and run. Yes, here we go. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to rewriting the player controller today. We've been going an hour and 20 minutes, and I think the player controller will probably take 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we will assign that as homework, and then we'll do a code review to start off next week. So we'll actually go through the code, talk about what we did and what each function is doing, and then we'll start working on the next steps. Because I think next week we're going to work on syncing network variables, if I remember our conversation. Okay.
Good one.
Game is here.
Let's try it.
Let's go into play mode over here.
Look at that
I'm
piece.
so excited to move to Unity 6 for these multiplayer tools, just so we don't have to do this anymore.
Same.
Spoiler alert for a few weeks from now, but okay, we're in here. So let's start
this week in my webinar.
or this week in Esteban's webinar, which you can register for now. Exactly. So we'll
Nice,
jump forward to
nice.
here. Let's start host here. Bloop. Player shows up. Let's move them over here so they don't spawn on top of each other. We'll go client here. Bloop.
Yo.
So we got 2 players now in the
So
game.
we got some clap emojis in the chat.
Check it out. So we've got 2 players, but notice when I'm selected on the host and I move, my host moves, and the host does move on this side. So we are synchronizing rotation and position
Whoa.
here. However, if I click over into here to try to move, nothing happens.
Oh, no.
And that's because of our ownership model, if I do understand correctly, because right now, the client, this object is owned by the server or the host. And when you go live as a host, it's actually worth noting there's some Booleans associated with that. So the host is actually the client. It is a client, it is a host, and it is a server all at the same time. All 3 of those Booleans will return true. That's something I had to learn while working on some stuff. So basically what's happening here is we're trying to move and we're saying, hey, like move the player. And it's basically saying like, yo, no, you don't have permission to move this. Movement is controlled by the server. You can't change these values. And so nothing is happening. And so we need to set up remote procedure calls to make this happen. Esteban, I know you mentioned you had some thoughts you wanted to talk about, like ownership and that type of thing.
So definitely like, hey Thomas, can you put them side by side?
Yes, let me drag this up here.
So as Thomas is so really like so a little bit reiterating of like what you said, because you said it very well, but that's true. Like, remember, people, we have 2 devices, we have 2 screens, but think of this like if it was a simulation of like let's say Thomas and Kirk playing, and Thomas is playing with his laptop, and Kirk is playing with his computer on his house, and then all of a sudden Thomas is the host, and he gave this very unfair game to clients to Kirk, and Kirk is like, okay, cool, let's co-op, let's do this, let's beat these zombies, and they're like, but what the heck? What the heck? I can't even move my character. I can't even move around. I can't even shoot. So how am I going to help you? So we need our game to be able to transfer that ownership to Kirk, or already start with the character being like, all right, Kirk, this is your player. Thomas, this is your player. Go beat the zombies. And in basically every multiplayer game, and especially when you're using like for game objects or these kind of solutions, there's the concept of ownership is whoever runs the simulation for that character, whether it's by moving it, by rotating and whatnot, and also has a responsibility of sending the updates to the other players and the other devices. Like, think of it that way. Ownership means who is in charge of simulating this particular object.
And I'm actually going to put that in our network UI right here as a little comment. Ownership means who is simulating this object. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying, Esteban?
That is what, that is what I'm saying. Although I will say everybody has access to the UI per se. So maybe these kind of comments can go more on the scripts that handle movement of the player.
Right.
And yeah,
we will do that once we actually write that code. But for now, I'm going to put it here so we have some way to display it. I agree. So, and that's really important because the model, when I was like pre-deving and checking in on this, the model we actually ended up settling on was the player is going to calculate where it wants to move, but then it's actually going to say, hey, Mr. Client, or excuse me, hey, Mr. Server, can you move me here? And the server is going to say, oh yeah, of course, buddy, and then move them. So when we actually move the character, we're telling the client, yo, I need to move, and then it'll move us. Now, there's issues with that we can talk about, because that means there's going to be a little bit of latency on our button presses, right? Because we're basically sending the request to move and then receiving back the request to move on a button press, which depending on the distance and the latency and the ping and all that stuff couldn't change that. And so we'll test with that. And if we decide we don't like it and we have time, what we can do is we can convert it to a client-owned model where the client moves and then basically just tells the server, hey, this is where I moved to. Can you let everybody else know where I'm at? And the server says, sure, and then updates it. So there'll be latency on the viewing client side just a little bit, but the movement will feel very snappy for the local client, which is probably the better option to look at.
So just that answers Wolfeat's question. So, and Wolfeat asked, but server could simulate all movements, right? Does that not make them the owner? So
it does.
And it does. Yeah, it can, but it does.
And generally, when you're doing a server authoritative model, the server owns a lot of things. It will own all of our projectiles. It will own the collision. It will own. I think that's really what it'll own. It'll own the thing that it will definitely always own is the enemies and spawning. The collision of the enemies and the food projectiles will always be 100% owned by the server. And then basically it'll just report that data back down to the clients.
Any sort of state that has to change at all clients. Yeah.
That's how our game Boss Room or sample that we've shown a lot, Boss Room does it. Although that one, the server owns absolutely everything. The only thing that you do on the client is click and like you said, Thomas, through an RPC, say, server, I would like my character to start the process of moving from this point to this point. So you click on the screen and the server goes, all right, I got you. And starts the simulation. So sort of like well, no, in League of Legends, you move the client directly, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's some server side like security stuff for cheating as well that's built in and all kinds of stuff there.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's super true.
Can I step back?
Sorry.
Can I step back? Oh, finish your point, and then we have because Thomas mentioned Unity 6 and someone asked about it. So
okay. If you go to like another sample, like the bite-sized samples, and like you also the 3 samples, like the characters are, if I remember correctly, all of them, it's like client-driven movement. So because you need that feedback in real time as you're moving your character to see it on your end, but if the other people see it with a little bit of latency, it's not the end of the world.
Exactly.
Nice. Rewinding a bit, because Thomas, you're like, Unity 6 will fix some things. Garlic Suitor asks,
Mark.
Hello, Mark. So which of the current multiplayer challenges will be solved by Unity 6 multiplayer tools?
Go
ahead.
My personal favorite, I'll say that and I'll let Esteban dive deeper. My personal favorite is the ability to test multiple instances of your build in editor. That is a game changer for me, because what you saw us just do just now was actually build it, and then you run multiple versions of the build and watch all the clients spawn, right?
You're like alt tabbing and moving things around.
But that slows down your iteration time. So being able to actually just pull up multiple instances of your multiplayer and spawn those windows out in the editor is a huge iteration boost, I think.
Dude, super agree. When I first saw that, I was like blown away. It's like, this, great, perfect, already built into the editor after you install it. It's like super good. For me, it was the multiplayer like that and the multiplayer widgets. As soon as through right clicks in the inspector, in the game object hierarchy, I can add a button to start a session, a button to exit the session, a button to have a list, get a list of sessions available, and then fire up the game and fire up the other instance, even on my own computer, but it's communicating through the internet. And when I went to check the Unity Cloud account and see that already packets of data had been sent, I was like,
Oh my
no
gosh.
way. This is already like at the very least like 2 hours or something of work or more that is
Yeah.
saving you in minutes. Like this is super good.
Yep.
I love
All
it.
right. So we're running to the end of the time of the stream. Let's get our team to-do list put together. So we're going to pull up this super advanced, very handy Google Doc, and
Nice.
we're going to talk about what we need to do for next week. So we wanted to get the player controller rewritten, right? So that's a to-do for next week is we need to, maybe not in bold and maybe not in size 20 font, like size 20.
We don't have to yell about that.
Yeah, we don't need to yell. Well, maybe we do need to yell about it.
Wait,
actually.
yelling is all in caps.
All right, hold on. Oh my gosh, y'all. I am stressing myself out by doing it this way. Did I turn caps on? I did. All right. Rewrite player controller to work with netcode. So we'll need to get that done for next week so we can review. And I'm happy to take that on because I've been researching the work, if that's okay, homies. And then for next week, we also want to start syncing UI information. So we don't need to do any extra code work, but we need to prepare to sync UI data, right? With network variables. Is there anything else we need to do for next week for the game? I think that's a pretty hefty session if we work on like the player controller. Oh, and do we want to get animation syncing as well for next week? And then prepare to sync animations, because that should be pretty straightforward as well.
That could be done with the player controller.
Yeah.
And I know that this is your to-do for in-between streams. I know I saw a comment a moment ago about asking to get it done on stream because we don't want to miss something so important.
Yeah.
But, of course, to start next stream, we'll go back with a little bit of recap, both what we did in today's stream as well as what happened in your guys' homework time. So we won't leave you guys out in the lurches that way.
And this, I think what we'll do with this player netcode, the player controller rewrote, I've got a sinking feeling about this. Nice. I think with the rewriting the player netcode, the player movement, we'll probably handle like the basic movement stuff and just get that done. Because the intent of the stream is not to show you all how to write a character controller, I think, we know how to do that. So we'll probably get that done. And then what we can do is just finalize like the server RPC calls and the client RPC calls to show really how that is sending the data and how we're utilizing like the if is owner, if is host, like that type of stuff to make sure you understand like what we're asking and checking for before we go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, and of course, live on stream. This isn't stuff we're going to do off stream. We are going to do the UI network variables and the animations. We'll do that live. There's no reason not to do that live.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
So is that the scope for next week's stream, or is there more that we'll be trying to accomplish in that time?
I don't know the answer to that question yet, but we'll know by Friday. So,
Sounds good. But again, our next
least that.
live stream, so the second entry into this series of converting a game into multiplayer will be next Tuesday, August the 6th, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern time. That's 9 p.m. Pacific time. We're bringing back the same crew. And then I believe the following week, we're going to add Joy back into the mix, which will be very, very exciting.
Yes.
Is there anything else that we want everyone to know to kind of wrap up today and get prepared for next week?
Try out the tools.
Try out the tools.
Try out the
Try out the
tools.
tools.
Check out the pin
Please.
post from Freeman. Put August 14th on your calendar. And yeah, rewatch a stream maybe.
Yeah. Those of you that maybe joined us towards the end of this stream, it will be available as a VOD on Twitch for a couple of weeks, but it will remain permanently in the live tab on the YouTube channel. So you can always hop in there and catch up. You can watch everything out 2 times if you want, which I did to get ready for this. So honestly, Thomas, I got to say, hearing you at 1x speed has been a definite change for me. So
That's fair. One-time speed time is definitely different.
yeah.
Y'all do the thing when you watch a live stream and you try to fast forward it and you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly. But gang, I've had an absolute blast here. Thomas, Kirk, Esteban, hanging out with you guys. Thank you so much for looping me in to be a part of this. Again, I'm very excited to see what this future kind of looks like for this content. You guys are incredibly talented, incredibly knowledgeable, and I think we're going to be involving the chat as we have been today moving forward. So thank you if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube. We are very, very grateful to have you. Thomas, I'm going to hand things over to you to kind of say your final piece, but I do want to let you guys know that we will be rating Nurkmind on Twitch. So stick around for that if you can and say hello once we get over there. Thomas, Esteban, Kirk, thank you again. I'll hand things back over to you.
Thanks for hanging out. Goodbye. Please, if you're a student or an educator watching this, go get your student and educator plan. There's a link in the chat. My whole purpose for existing is to give students and educators resources and free stuff. So click that link and check it out. And if you're like, I really want to dive more into the intro to code for game objects, please hit the course.
Yep. Oh, can I say one thing too?
Yes.
Also, join the official Unity Discord, and we have just relaunched our forums in the form of Unity discussions. So shout outs to Leon, Trey, and Jules, and Major Nelson for all their hard work on bringing up the forum. So if you want to talk multiplayer, there's also a spot there. So yeah,
we'll see y'all next week. Be well. Take care of each other. Be kind.
Take care, everyone.
See ya. Later.